So back to what I was doing earlier today. So I went on a retreat. I don't know if I talked about it or not, but I'm part of this Christian group on college campus that I'm on called Real Life, and we have a little subgroup within that group, and we all went on a overnight retreat from last night to this afternoon, and it was a really good time. We got to share all of our stories and really just grow as a group and really just kind of learn what we've all been through and all of our testimonies and how God has brought us all together today and how God has used our lives and our past events, our past traumas even to just bring us closer to Him, and now to even extend His kingdom further than just ourselves, So that was a really great time, and I guess maybe I'll just share my story a little bit on here. So it kind of starts from when I was about 13 to 14 years old. My parents adopted 3 girls, and then a year later we adopted 2 more, and it was fantastic. I love my sisters and my parents and my entire family with all my heart, but I think at the time that definitely brought forth a lot of anger and sadness in my life, because I was the youngest child, and you know how that goes. The youngest child gets spoiled and they kind of get everything they want, and then all of a sudden when 5 new girls get brought in, and I kind of lost all that attention, it kind of felt like I almost lost all that love, and so that kind of just propelled me to be a very sad and angry child for a long time, and that kind of lasted for years. And then when I was a sophomore in high school, at this point in time, the only things I ever really found happiness in were working out and hanging out with my family and friends when I could, because at this point all of my self-worth and my self-validation was put into other people and not myself. And so that'll be kind of important to the story a little bit later. But so I'm kind of just going day by day, blah, 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 working out, doing everything I have to do. And it comes to my summer before my junior year, I take a step of faith and go live with my brother for the summer. And I trained with him all summer. He trained me for football, because for my upcoming season, it was going to be my first season on varsity. No, it would be my second season on varsity. And I was ready to kind of make a big jump and really prove to people that I could be a really competitive player and to try to get some offers and some looks from colleges. So I put in the work. I grinded all summer, and I started doing really well. It's about 3 games into the season. We're doing really well. I'm doing very well. My work is really starting to show. And then the 4th game of the season, I ended up tearing my ACL playing our rivals, my ACL and my meniscus in my right knee. And, it might just seem like an injury, that's just an injury. Why is that so deep? But at the time, my entire identity was just forged in football, Football and working out was kind of like everything to me. And when that all kind of just got ripped away after all the hard work and dedication that I put in, it really kind of tore me to pieces, and so I started to turn to some different vices. Food was a big one. I gained a ton of weight. I played video games a lot, and I really started to put my self-worth and self-value in other people as well. So blah, 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 blah. Fast forward, we go through the entire recovery process, and I'm finally ready to go. It's about 9 months later. I'm finally good to actually start playing again and to start being competitive. And I start going to camps. I start to get some looks. And then the season starts. In the first game of the year, I end up tearing my meniscus in my same knee again. So I pretty much missed the entire season again. And at this point, it was like I'd gotten my identity back, and then it just got ripped away again. And that was kind of the last straw, because at this point it's my senior year, and I really, like, that was it. It wasn't like I had another season after to impress college coaches or scouts or whatever it may be. So I really started to go downhill, and I started turning to a lot of other worldly things, like drinking, getting high. I would get high all the time. I'd get drunk. I'd party every single weekend, even on weekdays if I could. I tried to chase a lot of girls. I tried to taste validation from girls, and other things. I definitely have some mistakes that I've made in the girl compartment as well, like not saving myself for marriage and other things like that. And I also started to really, again, just put my reliance on people and vices as opposed to myself and God. So this ended up just leading me down a very dark path, and it kind of continued for a couple years, and I burned a lot of bridges in my hometown, did a lot of things that I do regret deeply. I know, like, I can't change it. I know friendships or bridges that were burnt are burnt, and it is what it is, and I hope people can forgive me for anything I did and for any pain I may have caused them. But so, yeah, I'm still drinking, partying, smoking, doing all these different things, and it's really kind of just got progressively worse. I know my parents are probably going crazy at the time. Well, I know, not probably, my parents were going crazy at the time because they were really trying to help me get on a good path, and I was just doing everything and just completely fighting everything that they were trying to have for me. So flash forward a little bit, we're still going down this dark path, making a lot of mistakes, and along the journey, I had talked to a couple different girls, like relationship-wise, and I ended up getting my heart broken pretty bad a couple times. I mean, not like, I know some people have some pretty crazy stories and stuff. I mean, mine wasn't anything like insane, but I pretty much had lost all my self-respect in the process of just trying to chase girls and chase validation and chase all these different things. And I really kind of lost myself because I would keep trying to come back to these girls even after they would, end things with me. And it was the same kind of with other friends and stuff like that. So I lost my sense of self-worth and self-value a lot more in that process. And I lost my sense of trust in people. I really didn't trust people hardly at all after that. Starting new friendships and relationships was really hard, and honestly it still kind of is, and it probably stems back from that. But so that brings us forward. My parents keep pushing me to be better. They really kind of carried me on their back, and hey, you're all good. She thought I was somebody else, so I think she flipped me off. Hey, you're all good, no worries. That was funny. Oh man, I just had this girl just walk by thinking I was somebody else, and she just completely just flipped me off. I hope the camera caught that. That was funny. But anyways, back to my story. They pretty much carried me on their back, and they helped me to keep pushing, and I ended up getting not a scholarship, but I got a preferred walk-on to go play football in college. And this honestly was even harder for me at this point because I had wanted football for so long. I had wanted college football for so long. And then now I didn't want it anymore. Like, I really didn't. Like, I truly did not want to play college football anymore because I had just gone through so much with injuries and just the mental state that injuries had put me in, and just a lot of other drama and stuff that I lost my heart for football. And now I was going to play college football, my childhood dream, but I really didn't want to anymore. And so, like, I struggled with that because, like, I didn't I didn't know how to say I didn't want to. And so I ended up going and playing for a semester. And that really kind of just drove my mental state even further into the ground and into the dirt, because I mean, I was already doing all these bad things that I didn't want to do. And then the other areas of my life that weren't filled with those bad things were now filled with football, which, don't get me wrong, I love football, but my heart was just not in it. And when your heart's not in it, especially in college, it's miserable. Like, I promise you, if your heart is not fully committed to what you're doing, it is a miserable process, and you do not have fun with anything that you're doing. So that really just threw my mental state down so much, because now I have a whole nother thing I have to go that I'm dealing with in my head, like this hatred for football almost that I'm forming, because I don't want to be playing, but I am, and I want to stop, but I don't know how to tell other people. And I'm also struggling with all these other things, and I don't ever form new friendships with people. I torn away from my friends and my family at home, so now I'm like alone too, and there's just so much going on. And also at the same time, I was an O lineman, so I was like eating so much food that I ended up gaining about almost 50 pounds of fat in the course of like 4 or 5 months. And yeah, it was a very, very rough time. And then after that semester, I put it in my head. I was like, man, like I can't do this anymore. I was like, this is terrible for my mental state. I honestly am starting to hate this. I hate what I'm doing. I hate football. Like, my life is not going good. And so I made the decision to finally tell people that I didn't want to play anymore. And that was arguably one of the hardest decisions of my life, because football has been everything I knew for so many years. And I know it might sound naive or cliche, but I mean, that's just how it was, you know? And so we ended up making that decision, and looking back at it, that was one of the greatest decisions that I ever made, because it gave me so much more free time to work on myself and to really just sit down and work on those mental issues and struggles that I was facing in my head. And eventually, over the course of that next semester, I don't exactly know what happened, but just the thought of God just popped back into my head, like, because I'd grown up in a Christian house, like everybody was so Christian and awesome. My parents are super strong Christians, and they encouraged me so much. And so the thought kind of just popped back into my head. I don't know if somebody texted me something or what exactly happened, but it kind of just popped in, and I just like started reading my Bible slowly, started praying a little bit more. But you know, there was a lot of stuff that I'm still dealing with, but I'm starting to grow closer to the Lord a little bit, you know? And so then I'm just, over the course of the next semester, I started giving up a lot of things. I gave up smoking pretty much most of the time, drinking, and then like all these mental struggles that I was going on with started to slowly get better, you know, slowly but surely. But one thing that I was still doing a lot of was putting my self-worth in other people. And so there's just one example that I'll talk about. It was the course of my spring break, and there was this girl that I used to be really good friends with in high school, and we ended up kind of like talking. And so I come home for spring break, and I'm seeing her. We're seeing each other like every day over the course of spring break, and we had been talking for like a couple months before this. And it gets towards the end of the spring break, and I'm thinking like, oh, like this is awesome, you know, like I have another relationship, and I'm getting everything I need. And then that kind of broke off after that spring break, because she was still back home and I was in college, and it was like, that was just like the long distance was too much. And so she kind of told me, she's like, hey, I can't do this anymore. And that kind of, you know, that hurt a lot, again, because my self-worth was all in other people and not myself. And so I turned back to these vices a little bit more, again, just for a little bit. And then I finally started to realize, like, I got to turn to the Lord and grow, because I can't deal with these struggles on my own. And so then it was at that point, we'll say the semester came to a close, and I ended up going out to Washington for an internship, Washington State for an internship, which was on the other side of the country for me. And it was the best thing that I think could have ever happened to me, because I didn't know anything out there. I didn't know anybody. And so I kind of just, like, it was almost like I started fresh. Like, I started fresh and I left everything back in Michigan. And that was so good for me. It was such a great time of growth. I grew so much in the Lord. And at the beginning of the summer, there was one more struggle that I just completely had not given up, and I'd been trying and trying by myself. And this was the struggle with pornography and masturbation. I'm just going to say it straight up, because I know so many people struggle with it and nobody ever wants to talk about it. But I'd been struggling with it since I think my freshman year of high school. So it had been over 5 years at this point. And I had tried so many times to stop on my own, and I just never could. It never lasted more than maybe like 3 or 4, probably like 2 to 3 weeks. Over 5 years, like I could just never stop. And I finally turned it over to God. It was like my first week in Washington, and I was laying in my bed, and I'm just started crying out to God. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't stop this on my own. Like, I literally could not stop it. I was trying everything in the book. And I know some people say, oh, I can stop it, blah, blah, blah. But like, I couldn't. Like, I was trying, and I literally could not. I was doing everything. And so I just cried out to God. And since that day, I have not had that struggle. Since that day I cried out to the Lord, I have not had that struggle. And it has been probably 8 or 9 months now. So that happened at the beginning of the summer. And so just over the course of the summer, I started to grow so much closer to Him, because I was in a completely new place with brand new people, and I was forming a brand new identity. And that really just continued. I just continued to flourish. And then I came back for school, and I found a great Christian group, and they have been super supportive and great. And I've just been continuing to keep growing in my journey and just keep growing as a person. And I know I'm not anywhere near perfect, and I never ever will be, but there's so much growth that has happened in my life. And I still have a lot of struggles, I'm going to be completely honest. But the boy that I used to be and the man that I am now are two completely different people. And I know a lot of people in my life can attest to that. And I know now, looking back at a lot of the things I went through, they were absolutely terrible in the moment, and they sucked, and it kind of spiraled and led to a lot of more bad decisions. But they all worked out for good in the end, because all the struggles are all the times that I learned so much about myself and that I truly grew. And if I wouldn't have ever had those struggles, I would have never grown as a person. I would have never grown as a man. And I wouldn't be where I am today. So that's just that's my story, guys, really. I'm sure I might have left out a detail or two. But yeah, that is my story. And it's not as insane as some other people's stories, but make sure you guys just share your stories, because it's so important to just talk about things. I'm a guy who doesn't do the best with talking about things and opening up to people. And when I do, it does feel so much better, and there's like a weight lifted off your shoulders, and nobody judges you like they think you do. And if they do judge you when you share and when you're vulnerable, then those aren't the people you want in your life anyways. So get them out, So that's my encouragement, man. Just like, make sure you talk about your issues and your struggles, and just realize that a lot of people really do love and care about you, and they want what's best for you, even if you don't think they do. So that is my story. And that is how I've gotten to the point where I'm at today. And that is kind of just my hope with social media, is that I can really just be open about my story and just be real about what I'm going through, and just help people that have gone through or that are going through the same struggles that I have gone through, because I understand exactly where you guys are. I understand how you guys feel, how you guys think. Like, I promise you guys, I was there. And so I just really want to be a light and just let you guys know that you are not alone. And there is so much better, there's so much more to this life than what you think there is. And it really all just stems with trusting in the Lord, your God, with all your heart, and leaning not on your own understanding. So I honestly don't think I'm going to end up filming anything in the gym, because I did kind of just share everything, and it's already been like 22 minutes, I think. So that is my encouragement to you guys. That is my story. And I love every single one of you guys. And yeah, I love you guys.